Hey everyone, welcome to Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. I'm your host, Eric Oberemt. This is the podcast where the only requirement to be a guest is that you are being authentic to who you are. If you're not, I'll shut it down and I'll ask you to leave. Remember, be authentic or get the fuck out. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. I'm your host, Eric Oberemt. As we're doing in the beginning of every podcast, we're going to say who it's sponsored by. It's sponsored by D&M Roofing and Siding. Why? Because they're fucking paying for everything. And Roofers in Recovery, who doesn't give us any money, we give them money. But we're always going to bring them up at the beginning of the podcast. So we are on location in Houston, Texas, and we have come in to an office, and this is kind of exciting, and this is going to be a little bit different podcast because we are going to interview somebody that I've never fucking met before in my life, which is fun. So I'd like to introduce my guest here. Kota, is it Ivers?
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay, Kota Ivers. So thank you for being here, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Stoked to dive in.
So we were flying down here this morning, and I was trying to think a little bit of kind of the angle that I wanted to kind of go with the podcast. Because, again, I don't know a fucking thing about you, which is kind of exciting. And that's the angle that I kind of want to go with a little bit, is I wanted to use this time together as, because we talk a lot about intentionality here. We talk a lot about being present and like actually building relationships and partnerships and friendships with people as you're traveling the country and doing stuff and doing other business things and personal growth and all that kind of nonsense, right? Yeah. And so I thought this would be a cool opportunity to actually put that in practice and literally just hang out, have a conversation, and like get to know each other. So then when we're done, we walk away and either go, that's a cool cat, I would hang out with him again, or I really hope he doesn't fucking call me anymore. Right. Because it could really go either way.
It could.
You never know.
Yeah.
So the way that we got connected was through Sam Taggart.
Yep.
I texted Sam and was like, hey, I'm going to be in Houston. I've got some time to fill. Do you know anybody cool that I should hook up with and do an interview with for the show?
And Sam said, all my cool friends didn't respond, but I got this guy.
That's exactly what he said.
Yep.
But here's what I wanted to know. And the question that I want to ask is, why do you think he told me to call you?
More than likely, it wasn't anything special.
He called you an OG.
Okay.
In that text, he called you an OG. And I'm like, you look 12, so I don't know how the fuck you're an OG.
Yeah.
Like, how old are you?
I'm 27.
Motherfuck, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm pretty young, but I look younger than I am. So he hit me up literally the day before that because he was in town and he had his video guy, and he was like, hey, we need some B-roll for door-to-door shit.
Okay.
And so he just got connected with our team. They filmed a couple of our knockers. And so I'm guessing that just because he knew I was here and available, that it would be an easy connection.
But do you guys have some history, though?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. What's the history?
So
we're going to dig in this, figure this out. We're going to figure it out.
It's kind of crazy. I'm trying to think of the first time we met. So when he was getting the first door-to-door con put together, and I'm trying to remember how we got introduced. I've been in the industry for 7 years now, and before the first door-to-door con, we had dinner at it was in Draper, and there was like I think it was Texas Roadhouse or something. Anyways, we grabbed dinner, and we're chatting, and we're talking about different things in business and ideas that we have, and somehow it kind of started. Just like we just had this really, really good, authentic conversation about building businesses that were co-related that could help each other.
Yeah.
And bringing people together to kind of facilitate a vision that would normally seem super daunting or super big.
Yep.
And piecing it together into one thing. And so that's originally like how we like in person got connected and met, and we kind of just built off of that.
Yeah. And just kept in touch.
Yeah, so we sponsored the first couple door-to-door cons with our supplement company. So I've got a supplement called Boost. We don't really do too much with the supplement company anymore, honestly. It's just
supplement like for working out.
Yeah.
So funny. So, okay, you're not in the roofing community yet.
Yeah.
But that's the joke, because every roof that you get bought by insurance, you have to supplement it So,
So when you hear supplement, that's the first thing.
So whenever you see shit posted online, and they'll be like, "Hey, who's the best supplement company?" and then the jokes all come, and they're like, "Oh, it's Ascent," or it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, I want more money, asshole." Like, it's hilarious. But so once you get more into roofing,
I'll get there. I'll get there. We have a roofing so Boost was the supplement that we had, and I originally created it as like an alternative to Adderall because everybody in freaking door to door is cracked out on Adderall, sometimes cocaine, right? But I wanted to create something that was natural because I got prescribed Adderall at 18 and I just hated it. I knew the effects of it. I knew that it had a lot of like negative long-term repercussions with heart problems and like dopamine deficiencies. And so I basically got started by formulating nootropics, right? Like smart drugs.
Okay.
I've heard of nootropics or like nootropics.
Okay.
Kind of a buzzword for like, cognitive supplements that help with like memory, focus, shit like that. So I created a product called Boost. We sponsored the first couple of door-to-door cons. And originally it was funny because it was like these sketchy Mylar bags with pills in it with no instructions. And so I promised it was made legit. It was actually made in a manufacturer and like it was all like GMP certified, but it was legitimately like we had a bowl at door-to-door con.
And we're like, take some drugs.
It was just free samples. And we had people that were coming back and they're like, hey, I don't know what this is, but I feel amazing. Like they're coming, they're just like, I just feel super great.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like a stack with like muciniprurians, which is like a precursor to dopamine.
Okay.
Evodimine, which is like a really mild thermogenic. And so like, it's like a natural fat burner.
Yeah.
So just natural ingredients that help you feel good and like think a little bit more clearly. So Sam for a while knew me as just like the supplement door-to-door guy. Like, hey, if you need, natural Adderall, go hit this guy up.
Right.
And so it was kind of like a joke relationship like that. Like we were kind of buddies, but it wasn't like a real relationship or anything. And then we just kind of stayed connected. He followed a lot of what we were doing in business when I went from, just being a door-to-door rep to then managing for a couple of companies in pest control, getting screwed by one of them out of like 30-something grand. And then I was always the guy that would post transparently on social media, not necessarily to blast people and shit talk, but more so like, hey guys, the more we can kind of expose these things, the less people are going to get screwed. Because I think social media is a really good platform for people to just share transparently what's going on, get a bunch of eyeballs to where eventually people are going to know, like, this is just not the guy to do business with.
Yeah.
And I think that we have a right, when I say we, I mean anybody who's gotten screwed before has a right letting people know, like, okay, this is the way that it needs to be done. Like, we need to tell people that something went wrong just so that people are aware and they're not going and doing business with this guy because why would you,
So it's funny you say that because I was just thinking the whole time that you're talking about that and our previous conversation, how you're starting to get into dealing with roofing.
Yeah.
Just wait till you get into those forums and those conferences and those rooms because there are so many bad humans that are in our space. And a lot of what we talk about here is figuring out how to
mitigate that.
Yeah. Well, I can't fix them.
Yeah.
Right? I can't change them. I can't make them be better. But what I can do is I can make sure that we are highlighting the good and the people that are doing it the right way in the industry so that if people come and watch me and watch us, that they know who to follow and who to get advice from. And you know what I mean? Like, and not down the other avenues because and I don't call anybody out on here. I don't say like, hey, fuck that guy or fuck that conference or whatever. People that watch me know, like who we deal with and who we don't because I'm involved in so many different, things. I've got my hand in a lot of different things in the industry, but it's nice to hear that from another side, industry wise, that the same shit obviously goes on, and we know that in any industry. Yeah. But it's nice to talk to somebody that gives a shit about it, and wants to highlight that. Yeah. I think it's a big deal. I think it's a big deal.
Yeah, man. I mean, my business partners, like we kind of, like a lot of us have been screwed in different ways, and so it's kind of like the island of misfit toys. Yeah. When you've been screwed, you find somebody like you naturally just like you naturally attract to people that share similar stories and experiences. Yep. And so that's kind of how our current business partnership was formed. Is like we just morphed together. We all had these similar backstories of like I got screwed, but instead of reacting and being a victim in this, like I decided to have an abundance mindset and move past that. Right. And that's kind of what we've gotten to now. And I think now it's evolved from Sam following me enough to say, like, okay, Kota's actually a good dude. Like, he's actually credible.
Right.
You know, to toot my own horn and make me feel good. No, but really genuinely, like, we just care for people, and Sam sees that.
Yeah.
And so we just have a good relationship. And, you know, if he knows people that are looking for something that we have, he just sends them our way.
That's awesome. So I want to hear about, because I've never not been an owner.
Yeah.
Right? I've never just been a rep.
Really? So you literally started in roofing?
With my grandfather.
Okay.
So I worked for my grandfather since I was 10.
Okay.
And I became part owner of the company in my early 20s.
Damn.
But I did some installing, and like I sold for him, but I was always part of the, you know what I mean?
It was like family business.
Yeah. So I never worked for somebody or, you know, whatever. So like I don't have that experience level. So I want to hear, just because that was something we connected on a little bit on our Zoom call that we did. Yeah. I want to hear about and you don't have to name names, whatever. I want to hear about your worst fucking I got fucked experience to Kota.
Oh, man.
You know you got one. Like, it's right fucking there. And you're like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah, the worst one was probably the recent one that happened.
Okay.
And so give you a little bit of backstory. So I joined solar very beginning of 2020, right? So just a couple of years ago. My buddy is Brett. His dad is Brett Boucher, who owns Freedom Forever. It's a pretty good connection. I've been friends with him for 10 years. And so he got me into the industry because he's like, hey, dude, solar doesn't take 6 months to install anymore. It's a couple of months. Like, you can come and make a bunch of money.
Right.
And this was just after getting screwed off of that 30-something grand from a pest control company that I was managing for. So at this point, I'm like, managing is exhausting. Pest control is exhausting. Yeah. Maybe I just need to go and become a sales rep and cash out and make, multiple six figures in solar.
Yeah.
And at this time, like, I've got my wife, I've got, at the time, my 2-year-old son, and I'm like, I got to figure out how to do something, because we literally had, like, no cash. Like, we were at the point where after that summer, like, that was the only cash we were going to get. It was kind of a rough summer in general.
Right.
And so I'm like, I got to figure this out. So we go to San Diego. We basically got them to agree to pay for us to at least get into an apartment to get out there. And then once we were out there, we were going to figure it out. And so I started as a sales rep, and I was getting some momentum. I remember, like, 2 or 3 weeks in, setting some appointments, and I had 3 appointments close in one day. So I got a hat trick, and I'm like stoked, dude. I'm like counting the commissions in my head.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's this, and then
that's
this.
Some sales shit
round
right
up,
there.
round up a little bit to make it sound better. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool. I got like 12 grand coming. Like everything's working out.
Right.
Within 24 hours, all 3 canceled.
Ugh.
And I'm like, fuck, dude. How am I gonna pay my bills? Expensive San Diego apartment.
Yeah.
I've got my wife and my son. Like, I told them that I was gonna make this work because I have to. And my wife's, followed me around the country, classic summer sales wife.
Yeah.
Like being dragged in the mud through all the different ventures and different, states and everything. And so I'm like, I got to figure this out. So I convinced them to let me sell myself instead of like going through their setter closer process. So I get a couple of deals. I'm starting to get some momentum. And I actually opened an apartment beneath my apartment that was open to recruit some guys because I'm getting momentum. So I'm all excited. This is probably like mid-February at this point. It's like a month after the 3 deals that had canceled. And I get some buddies out there. We're starting to sell. Like, they're shouting me on the doors. They're getting some experience. And right the day that they started booking some appointments, I had like 6 appointments lined up for the next day. That's March, whatever it was, 18th, when COVID was announced. And we're not allowed to knock doors because it's California.
Right.
And so at the time, they're like, we don't know what this is.
You weren't allowed to breathe, I don't think.
Well, it depended on the day. They changed it every other day.
Yeah.
You can go on the beach, but not with a swimsuit, and then you can go touch the water, but you can't walk across the beach. You got to get to the water without the beach. It's a joke,
You
man.
can keep California.
Such a joke.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, fuck, man, we literally can't knock doors. What are we going to do? And so at the time, my buddies were getting into the lead gen space. And I was like, hey, let's do some stuff and see if we can generate some leads and close over Zoom and test out this remote sales thing.
Right.
So we're testing with it, and we're fumbling around. My buddies are getting more paranoid, and they're not getting money. So they're like, hey, dude, we're going to dip out. So I've got 2 leases now. Thank God I convinced one buddy to take over the lease for me, one of them. And then I got mine taken over so I could get back to Utah. Because if I'm selling remote, I'm not going to stay in San Diego being trapped in a prison, overpaying for my apartment. Right. We can't even go to the grocery store and look at people because they have like lines of 10 people in at a time. It was a bullshit. It was crazy, man.
Yeah.
So anyways, get back to Utah, and for the next like 6-ish months, we're game planning this business. And I promise I'm getting to your question. But
I don't even remember what the fucking question was, so I'm glad you remember it.
The biggest getting screwed.
Oh, yes,
moment.
okay, got it. All right,
and so my buddy Brett, same buddy, introduces me to these couple of cats that are also in that same solar company, and we were talking about basically becoming our own dealer. And so we were shopping around, looking at different installers that we were going to go through, and we formed this partnership with me and those two guys. Brett didn't end up doing it because we didn't go with Freedom. We went with a different installer.
Okay.
So I go into business with these guys. We call it Seed Solar, and we're basically building for the next 4+ months. And I start to realize this equal partnership doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm like, I was basically doing everything. It was just one of those.
Yeah.
You hear about those stories all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And
you were the smart kid in school that got teamed up and did all the homework, and then everybody.
Yeah,
and then
I did.
Everybody
I charged people for
and then
homework
everybody got an A
in accounting.
Yes,
I did.
perfect,
Yeah, I did accounting homework for people in school and got paid for it. So I'm just realizing like I'm doing literally 99% of everything.
Yep.
And these guys are just they're making money off of me. Like they're paying their bills off of my work.
Right.
I'm recruiting. I'm selling. I'm doing the systems. Like literally everything. So a couple more months build, and I'm like, I got to figure this out. So we're on a blitz in Florida, and I talk to a mentor, and he gives me the advice to like just address it. He's like, whether you buy them out, whether you start a new company, he's like, one way or another, you got to get out of this. Like this is not a long lasting partnership.
Right.
So I get on a Zoom call with them, and I basically just tell them exactly how I feel. Like that's always how I've done it. I want to be transparent with people, be upfront.
Right.
So I pop on Zoom, we talk about it. I'm like, I feel like this. You guys tell me how you feel. I'm going to start my own door-to-door company, and it's going to be completely separate, and I'm going to run that. And if you guys want to keep this sub-dealer model, because we did like sub-dealers, and that was actually pretty good passive income without a lot of work, then I'm down to stay partnered on that component. But on the door-to-door side where I'm doing everything, I'm out. I'm doing this. And on the call, they were obviously not stoked, but like it was mutual agreement. It was all good. So fast forward a couple weeks after that, we are hosting an event in St. George, Utah for our coaching company because we had Solar Sales Pros, like our coaching business. And we're hosting like a 50-person event at Homestead Ranch. It's a really cool place. If you ever go to St. George, like it's amazing.
I have been there.
Oh, have you?
Yes.
So, St. George or Homestead?
St. George.
Okay, so Homestead Ranch, if you ever like need an event, that's a really cool place.
Okay.
Up in the mountains, it's fucking beautiful.
We went there for a circle retreat, I think, or something.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of like retreats and masterminds and stuff out there.
Yep.
So we're there hosting this event. Those guys know about us hosting this event. Suddenly we start getting notifications that we're being logged out of shit. So it starts there.
The old getting logged out of shit.
Yeah, exactly. We've all heard about it. Everybody's had it
Yes,
happen. And
yes.
so logged out of our Slack channel, which is
I'm just usually the
communication.
guy that's logging people out.
Yeah. And so it was just crazy because we're getting these notifications and we're like, are we literally, it felt like an attack. Like we're being attacked like strategically while we're hosting this event. And so it starts with Slack, then it's the bank, and then it's this. And we're like, oh shit, we're watching this thing like unfold in front of our eyes. So we're trying to kind of mitigate it, but we're hosting this event. Like we got to show up for these guys. So we're not super focused on that happening.
Right.
We're like, we got to do this event. We'll deal with it after because it was like a 3-day event. So afterwards, we also had our leadership retreat with like 10 of our guys for the solar company. And we're in this Airbnb and we're all like, hanging out. And then I get this text and it's from these two clowns. And they basically say, give up all of your equity, give everything to us. We filed a trademark on the name, so now we own this. Like, they're just playing, like, they just came out aggressive. And I'm looking at this text and I'm reading it and I'm just boiling,
Yeah.
And I look at my partners, I'm like, upstairs now. So we all go upstairs and we lock ourselves in the room. And we pass around the phone. And I'm just fucking, like, fuming, man.
Yeah.
And we're all passing around the phone. And after everybody reads it, we're basically, for the next 5 to 10 minutes, just like, these motherfuckers. We're like, we're gonna get a baseball bat. We're gonna fucking show up. They think they can fucking and like we're seriously getting just like ridiculously pissed because the audacity for them to send a text like that for like all the work that we did and the way that we went about it was just really, really left field. It was super fucking weird. And so at that moment, that's when we had a shift and we were like, okay, we can keep fighting this and it can be a shit show and we can, fucking throw shit at each other all day, or we can start a new company to keep the momentum, right? Yeah. And so that's when we came up with the idea Grateful for the name, because it was like another just getting beat down moment which a lot of my partners had already had, right? We all shared similar stories from other companies. And we were like, in life, we're never going to not get fucked up and beat down.
Correct.
So we have two approaches. We can talk shit and we can be a victim and we can sit and wallow in our sorrows and,
Which like, makes you no money.
No money. Misery loves its company, though, and that's what a lot of people do.
You'll be a broke, angry fuck.
Yeah, with a lot of people, they're supporting you and telling you how you're a victim and telling you, you deserve to feel this way, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Or we can nut up and get to work and start building something.
Yep.
So that's where Grateful came into play, because we're like, let's move into this or move out of this into the next thing with an abundance mentality.
Yep.
So the fuckery was only the beginning. Basically, for the next 90 days, it was battling back and forth, not having access to accounts. Keep in mind that this was 2 months after Empire, the solar business, went bankrupt. We were their third largest volume dealer at the time. So we're talking well over $1 million in the pipeline.
Yeah.
Just from that. And so we're already hurting like crazy trying to figure out how to help customers, how to move them to other installers.
Yeah.
And we made the mistake of going to Titan. Nothing against Dave and those guys, just like the install timelines were not helpful.
Right.
And so we're like waiting for all of this money to come in, but since we're logged out, we can't track projects, we can't communicate with customers because these clowns logged us out of all of our systems. Jesus. And so we're like calling. Luckily, I developed a lot of the relationships. So like I was able to call the installers directly and like let them know what's going on. I was able to call our payroll company and let them know not to process certain things, because they were sending themselves money and doing all kinds of shady shit. So we ended up mitigating as much as we could, but it got to the point where we basically had to sign an agreement stating that they would get all the equity. We're protected by indemnification to where we can't be responsible for their bullshit. And then we just kind of parted ways. So they screwed like multiple reps for like we didn't unfortunately get to pay. There were a couple reps that should have been paid and didn't get paid.
So let me ask you this, because when you formed your new entity, then my guess is that because of those lessons, because of those things that happened to you, you probably sell your people on that you've been through that, and that's how you know it won't happen here, or something similar to that.
To an extent, I think it's
because people have to worry about that all the time, at least reps, right? And I'm not talking ownership type situation, but like reps worry about not getting paid all the time, right? Unless they're just absolutely green and have never heard a story about getting fucked, right? And I mean, it's something that in my company we talk about a lot. It's one of the reasons, like, we hired a new production manager for my Iowa branch.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, we need to get like 10 or 15 subs lined up and blah, 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 blah. And I said, dude, I've had the same 3 subs work for me for over 20 years. He's like, what? And I was like, yeah. I was like, and I don't have to increase their pay every year either, unless like something happens. He's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, we treat them right. And he goes, well, yeah. I go, oh, and the other thing, we pay them.
Yeah, every time.
On time.
Yeah.
Every week, no matter what.
Yep.
And he's like, holy shit, I never even thought about that. He's like, every other company that he worked at, they fucked around their subs and they fucked around their sales guys, and then everybody'd leave, right? Yeah. And it's obviously not a sustainable model, obviously, but those are what the other guys are doing, thinking they can go make their money in 2 years. Yep. Nobody catches them, right? And then they get out.
Yeah,
right.
And that's the weird part to me. I think because to your last question, I agree. I don't think that we necessarily like tell people that when we're recruiting. But I do think a lot of people know us and come to us because of that reputation. It's like what you're talking about earlier. People know who does good business after a certain period of time.
Yes.
You're in the game long enough. People just know. They talk to the right people.
Yep.
And when they talk to 6 people and nobody has anything bad to say about you, that's usually where like you're good.
Yeah.
Right? I call it like becoming unfuckwithable. Like, people don't fuck with you because they know that if like your reputation is so good in the industry, that your word is like gold.
Right.
Like, people will take your word over somebody else's because of just the reputation that you've established for yourself.
Yep.
And so I do think that we've kind of built that, and I think that a lot of people know us because of that.
That's awesome.
And it's weird. You hear about all these stories, and it's kind of like what you said. Yeah, what do you mean? Like, we just pay our people on time. And to me and to you and to a lot of other people, I think there's a lot of good people out there that think just like that. And so it's weird. There's like this cognitive dissonance when I meet people that don't have that, or that somehow justify like, oh, we get to fuck with people's money and like not think that that's a bad thing.
Right.
And that's what's always been weird about this industry to me is we have an industry where you can come, you can have a shitty background, you can have no experience, you could have had a horrible fucking past, all these problems, and you can go and do something great for yourself.
I can't. I gotta stop laughing. We're gonna keep fucking recording. But like, I could hear the fart sounds from the chair.
Oh, yeah.
And I look at her laughing because I know there's no way, and it's coming right through her headphones.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she's just got to hear shitting in her headphones,
Yeah.
which is hilarious. And then in my mind, while you're talking, I'm like, I wonder if she can like filter that out and she can do little soundboardy stuff to make it good, to make the fart sounds go away. My assumption is no. The answer is no to that. So there's going to be a lot of fart sounds. Yeah. In Kota's podcast.
It's the sticky porn chairs. That's what it is. I love it.
This is fantastic.
This will be gold.
This is what makes it fun.
For sure.
Right? This is what makes it fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so one other thing I want to ask you about, because I was interested because when, and I could be totally fucking way off base, but when Sam sent me your info, obviously the first thing I did was like try to go find you and see who the hell you are and, you know, whatever, right? So I see skinny little white kid from Draper, Utah.
Yep, you're like this white privileged
and I'm like, well,
shit.
no, I'm like, I go, why would Sam hook me up with this like young little Mormon kid that's going to be scared of me? Because that's just what I assume, right? Because I mean, I went to numerous retreats with Sam, and the first one I ever went to, they were deathly afraid of me. Yeah. In the beginning of it, when I walked in. After a couple of days, we all became friends and we all loved each other. Yeah. And so I was like, fuck. I just sat there and I'm like, fuck, Sam, what are you doing? But I was like, no, let's jump on this call. Yeah. And I was so happy that I jumped on the call because we jumped on the call and within, I think, a minute and a half, I got a fuck out of you. Yeah. And I was like, all right, my guy.
He passes.
My guy. Yeah. So honestly, my question is, what is your background and like where you've gotten to where you are today? Because I just put you in a mold. Yeah. Right? Because it's like door knock, mission, you know what I mean? Like whatever. Sure. Was that your background or was that never your background?
Yes and no. No mission or anything like that. Okay. But I did grow up in a Mormon household. Okay. Right? So I originally grew up in Utah for the most part. Yep. I was like 13 and asking questions and not getting answers, and I was like, yeah, this shit's not for me. Like, yeah, they don't like questions. Yeah, no, the questions are not good. So when people don't answer questions, you know, you're probably in the wrong place. Right. At least that's what I feel. Right. So turned 18. Me and my mom didn't have the greatest relationship. We were always fighting. Like I didn't agree with anything that she said, and so as the second I was 18, I moved out. Got into a network marketing company actually. I was selling healthy energy drinks for a fucking company in St. George, Utah. I was selling, and it was funny, man. I was super, super broke, so I sold everything. My original story is like I sold blood plasma. Yeah. I sold like my PS3, my fucking like bed frame and shit to get the $560 to buy a shit ton of overpriced juice. Right. Healthy energy drinks.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was like a vitamin energy drink. Yeah. The irony in that is hilarious. Yeah. And so I went, but I popped off. Like all my friends called me scammers, so my whole warm network was burnt. Right. So that was kind of my initial intro into sales because by default, I'm super introverted. A lot of people that like know me from like podcasts or videos might not think that, but like genuinely, I'm super introverted. I like to spend a lot of time by myself. Like I'm a trained extrovert when I have to be, but like I still suffer with anxiety. Like I used to get to the point where if I walked up to somebody, I would get clammy and almost pass out if I had to say my name.
I love that term, trained extrovert.
Yeah.
That's great. Write that down.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah. That's 100% how I feel. Yeah.
So I basically, because I had no warm market, everybody thought I was in a pyramid scheme. To their credit, they were mostly right. Yeah. Yeah. And so I went to the college campus, Dixie, and I was basically shoulder tapping people with a backpack full of these energy drinks, trying to get up the courage to pitch people. Really? And I didn't have anybody there on my team, like an upline to like give me guidance. So I was listening to like the top leader, his like recordings and his like speeches and shit like that every night to try and memorize it. Huh. And so here I am, this 18-year-old scrawny white kid, even scrawnier than I am now, if you can imagine that. Yeah. And I am cold marketing these energy drinks to people, trying to sell them on these $560 juice packs with these broke college kids at Dixie State. So for the first couple days, I can't even get a word out. Like literally almost passed out, go home, go back and try to build up the courage. Yeah. Yeah. So for a few days, I kept going back. Finally got to the point where I could introduce myself, say my name, and ask what they did for work or if they had a job, right? Or why they were in college.
Yeah.
Then I could have a conversation. Then I got to the point where within about a week, I could tell them, hey, I have an opportunity where you might be able to make some side cash. We're going to, like, if you want to meet with me, I'll give you a free energy drink just to hear me out. That was my pitch. And so obviously college, energy drink that's free, like everybody's going to hear my pitch. So over the next 30 days, I sold personally 36 people on these $560 silver packs. I broke a company record. I made like $5,600 in commission from their frenzy bonus is what they called it. And it was all cold market. It was all shoulder tapping people, getting them into a random classroom and selling them on pulling out their Dixie credit cards for books and shit
Get the fuck out of
to
here.
buy these healthy energy drinks.
That's fantastic.
So that was kind of the breakthrough for me to getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, like the first kind of moment of that. Then I moved up to Salt Lake. I dropped out within 2 weeks. And so that's like my college story. 2 weeks of college, dropped out. Moved up to Salt Lake, heard about some buddies in door-to-door that like made money. I'm like, there's no way you can go make fucking 50 grand in a summer. Like what?
Right.
Like it sounds illegal, but I'm still in. Like let's talk about this.
Don't care.
So I started shopping.
Involved?
Yeah,
Don't care.
seriously.
It's fine.
Yeah,
It's fine
not
if they are.
Not that it matters. I just want to know.
Yeah, I just want to
straight
know.
up.
Yeah.
And so I meet with Dish One. I meet with Protection One. I meet with North Star, and I'm kind of like shopping around and selling myself. So I got to the point where I had Protection One and North Star offering some kid that's never sold door to door in his life $5,000 sign on bonus.
Wow.
And I'm like, wait, there's sign on bonuses? Like this is a fucking thing. Like I can go and get free cash for doing no work. This seems too good to be true. Let's do this. But my buddy James, who I'm partnered with now, convinced me to go to this little company in Idaho, based out of a garage, to sell security for this potential big company. And instead of a giant sign-on bonus, they'll pay for my gas in a motel. And he's a good salesman, obviously, because I took that over the sign-on bonus.
Wow.
So I go out there, and I still remember my first day, dude. They the owners text me, and they're like, just go find a neighborhood, and if you sell anything, let us know. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know the fucking pitch. I don't have paperwork. Like, I didn't know shit. And they just, like, got me checked into this motel called Sandman Inn and Suites. You can look it up. It's a Meridian motel. It's ghetto. Super piece of shit motel. And we're driving out, me and my buddy, and we're, like, going to the neighborhoods. We're like, I don't even know where to go. And I'm like, oh, fuck this. Like, I can't do this. Like, what are we supposed to do? We can't
what are you selling?
Security.
Okay.
Yeah. So I pull off.
So not only do you not have shit, you're trying to sell them security to keep people like you away from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
100%. Oh, yeah. It was a shit show. So we pull off, and at the time, I'm 20 years old, and we stop at this bar. We see this guy coming out, and I'm like, hey, man, here's $20. Will you go get us a bottle of Sailor Jerry's? He does. So he goes in there, buys us a bottle of Sailor Jerry's, and we just go back to the motel and get fucked up. And so that was like our first day. Then when they got back in town, they eventually trained us. We stuck out there. We had a decent summer. We basically partied our balls off the entire time.
In Idaho.
Yeah, in Idaho.
We're at in Idaho?
Meridian, like Boise.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So
Idaho is where Sam broke my arm.
Oh shit, what happened there?
We were in a retreat in the northeast corner area. I don't know what the mountain stuff is up there.
Like Yellowstone or
No, it's west of that, but I don't know. But we rented razors.
Yep.
So if you're ever invited to ride in a razor with Sam, the answer is no. And I've done it twice. And that was the second time. Okay. And I fucking knew better.
Yep.
I literally was walking around going, who's got room? Who can I jump in with? And he was the only one left. Because apparently I wasn't the only one that also all knew, don't get in a fucking razor with Sam because he's insane.
Sounds about right.
And so we were coming around a corner going about 40 miles an hour in a razor with a sheer drop off to the left and a wall to the right. And lo and behold, another razor was coming the opposite way, coming around the corner.
Yeah.
We hit that fucker head on, and I was in the back seat, and I let go of the oh shit bar because I was afraid my arms were going to cave in.
Yeah.
But I must have went like that.
And one of them just got...
And I snapped my ulna in half.
Shit.
And it just and we were 40 minutes from civilization.
Is this the one that everybody's posting about? Like randomly there's like a helicopter coming in to...
That was a helicopter for me.
That was you?
Yeah.
No shit, man. Yeah. I saw it on Mike O'Donnell's Instagram, man.
Yes.
I'm like watching his Instagram. I'm like, look at this motherfucker that broke his arm, man. Like,
That was
look
me.
at this. All right.
That was me. And
That
so the
makes sense.
helicopter was originally for me.
Okay.
Because there was supposed to be drugs on the helicopter.
Yep. No drugs.
And no, hold. There was a gal in the other Razor that was like, I'm fine. Then all of a sudden she's like, well, my hip hurts a little bit.
No.
The fact that it was her hip,
Yeah.
that takes precedent over an arm because of some kind of blood flow thing.
Yeah.
So they gave her the helicopter that had drugs on it. The ambulance came. We were 3 hours from a hospital.
Oh, man.
And they didn't have a sling. I was showing this picture to somebody yesterday. The IV nurse when I went and got my drip. They didn't have a sling in the ambulance. They tied my shit up with a bed sheet.
No.
And my arms like hanging there, right? It took us 45 minutes. They had to send another Razor out to get me.
Yep.
And then drive back very slowly, right?
For sure.
To get back. And then I get the ambulance because homegirl gets the helicopter with drugs.
Yeah, bruised hip. I mean, that makes sense.
Right.
Logic.
Throws me into the ambulance, and the lady's like, yeah, there's only one paramedic in the county that's allowed to have drugs, and we're not it.
Oh, man.
I'm like, what the fuck? And they're like, it'll take us about an hour and a half, and we'll meet the other ambulance. It's already been like 3 hours that I've just been hanging here with broken arm, right? And so we literally drive an hour and a half down some bumpy ass fucking roads. I think it took an hour to get to a highway.
Yep.
And we literally meet another ambulance at a restaurant so that homeboy can come get into our ambulance because I've got another hour and a half to the deal.
Yeah.
So he can give me some fentanyl. And as an addict and an alcoholic, that's what we call a free lapse. So I got to have 30 minutes of being just high as fuck.
Yeah.
Because my arm was broke. And I'm like, yes, I need to, like, it was killing me, obviously.
Oh,
like,
sure.
I wasn't like, hey, drug me up because I want to cheat.
No, like your arm's fucked up, yeah.
Yeah, like it was bad. And so I finally get to the hospital and they show me the x-ray. And I mean, like, it's
toast. Yeah.
and they're like, well, we're going to start prepping the OR. And I'm like, I'm sorry, excuse me? And they're like, yeah, we're going to go put some screws. I'm like, motherfuckers, you didn't have drugs and you didn't have a sling.
And now you're telling me that I need screws and
I go,
shit.
I'm not getting that shit here. I go, send me the fuck back. Give me something to take for the pain.
Yeah.
And I went back to the retreat and sat in that house for 2 more days until my flight left.
No.
And I flew back to Omaha, went in on Monday to have them take an x-ray. And they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, figure it out. And they're like, can you come back in 2 hours? Like, we'll get you in surgery. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
And they came in and put a plate from there to there. And yeah.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's
so,
savage. I would have been the guy to get the surgery.
Yeah.
And I think most would.
I love that you saw the Instagram posts of the helicopter.
That's crazy because I've seen you on social media and shit. So it's funny to know that, like, now that's my first experience ever of you.
Yeah, that was me.
Helicopters flying in.
Yes,
somebody got.
I was
fucked
so
up.
excited for a helicopter ride too. Like, I was like, I get drugs and I get to be on a helicopter.
So
That's
the real question is the girl with the bruised hip, is she okay?
Oh, she's suing Sam.
Did she make? Oh, fuck, for real?
Yes. Oh, fuck. We need to call Sam. We're done because I ran into Sam and he came up to me and he was like, "Hey, man, she's suing me. So if you want to get in on the lawsuit, I'll find out because it's my insurance going to pay for it anyway. Like, I broke your fucking arm.
Yeah.
I mean,
like,
I'm never going to sue Sam.
Yeah.
But I will. Like, I don't know if this will fuck me or not. But I'll pony up because I was like, shit, maybe I can go get $100,000 from his insurance company. But no, she ended up suing him like a year later because of course she found him on social.
Yeah.
And was like, oh shit,
this is somebody I can make money off.
I bet that motherfucker has money
for sure.
And so so she saw a golden opportunity. So
that's nuts.
You're a bitch, whoever you are.
Yeah.
You suck at life. And,
not cool.
I hope.
Not fucking cool.
I hope your groin still hurts.
Yeah.
All right. So, dude, thank you. Like, this has been great.
Yeah, man.
Like, this has been fun. I want to spend more time together sometime.
Yep.
When I come back down to Houston, we're gonna hang out.
I'm
going to go get an IV drip now because we got it before 4:00 in the morning and I have a raging headache. Everybody, you're welcome for the fart noises throughout the entire fucking podcast because I had to keep moving around like an asshole. So you're welcome for that. We always give the guest the last minute if they got anything that they want to talk about, say, reiterate, or whatever. So if you've got anything else that you want to.
Yeah, man. All I would say is you guys listening have heard all the different podcasts that you've done, so I'm sure that there's much crazier stories, much more severe situations that people have had to go through. But Like our company tagline is always grateful, never satisfied. And so like if you're listening, that's what I would leave you with is be grateful, have an abundance mentality, but also like don't get complacent. Like operate out of gratitude, but always be striving for more. And if you guys want to follow me or check me out, just go to my Instagram. It's just Kota Ivers. I'm the only one. You see the scrawny white guy?
Yes.
From Draper, Utah.
Yes.
And that's how you know you found the right person.
Awesome.
So
Kota, thank you very much. Just like we end every podcast here, remember, be authentic or get the fuck out.
We lost, may lead to another win. I'm going up.